Well, guys, we are going to continue with Unit 8 and the grammatical part that deals with the use of wish and the if clause. All right? So we're going to begin first of all with the wish. Wish is something that you really want, yeah? Okay, so the first part we have wish for the present and the future. Look at the formula that you have to use and then we will see an example. So you have wish, and every time I use wish I have to use the past form of the verb. So you have the example there. I wish I didn't live so far away. So the thing is that right now the opposite is true. That means that you do not live near, you live far away. I wish I didn't live so far away. Maybe from your work. So it's the opposite. You do live far away from your work. Alright, so this negative form is always used to say the opposite. And it's a past form, obviously. So, I repeat, I wish I didn't live so far away. Does he live far away? Yes, he does. Okay? So, that's the first explanation here. Now, let's see an example of wish for future. You can see there in the picture that they're thinking about a house, yes, a new house. So the sentence says, we wish we could afford to move. They want to move, okay? So that's why we say the wish is used for future as well. But right now, maybe they cannot because they don't have the money. So they have to live in those conditions that they are living now, right? So can they move? No, they can't. So they're wishing something for the future, maybe. We wish we could move, afford to move. Okay, very well. Let's continue then. Basically, that's all of that has to be said about the wish. Now we're going to go to the grammatical part of the conditional, the use of the conditional, all right? Which we have been studying already. Remember, for the class participation this week, that is what you have to use. So conditionals always establish, of course, a condition. And we can describe situations in the past, in the present, or the future. So we're going to see little by little what does this mean. So we can use different grammar structures, okay, to express either any of these tenses. So let's see. One of the facts when using conditionals is that I use it for real or unreal situations. Okay? And as I said, I can play with the time. Okay? The conditionals have two clauses, the if clause and the result clause. Yeah? This is all in one sentence. So we said that there are different types of conditionals. There are mainly four that we know of. Zero conditional, when we talk about facts. The first conditional, that I always have a present form and the will or won't. The second conditional, which relates to unreal or imaginary situations, now or at any time, past or future, remember. And it's imaginary, it's hypothetical. That's the one we're going to study here. And then you have the third conditional, which refers to unreal or imaginary situations in the past. Okay, only. So let us look at an example you have here. It says, if you went to bed earlier, you would not be so tired. So what's the situation here? Of course, the person maybe went to bed late. So he has this desire. If I went or you went to bed earlier, you wouldn't be so tired in the office. Okay, do you see it? So the if clause would be the first one, and then the other part of the sentence would be the result clause. You are tired. Very well then. Let's continue with another one. Here it refers to a situation in present, and we always use the past form. Remember, we have been saying that we have to use the past, okay? And the result clause, we have the use of could or would. So then you have this formula, the if, the subject, and the past tense. And then in the result clause, you have subject, modal, and the infinitive form of the verb. Look at the example you have there. If we had wings, we could fly. Now let us look at imaginary situations or events in the present. I always keep the same structure. Remember, the past in the if clause, and in the result clause I have the use of would or could. So the sentence would be, if I had taken the aspirin, I wouldn't have a headache now. All right, so it's always like, it's not real. I didn't take the aspirin, but if I had taken it, I wouldn't have the headache. Okay, or I wouldn't have a headache. So remember, it's a key factor to remember that they are always imaginary situations, unreal situations, hypothetical situations, okay? So then you have another example where you have also imaginary situations or events, but in the future. Pay attention, listen. If we had more money, we could go on holiday more often. I'm thinking about my future, my holidays, Carnival, Christmas, summer holidays, okay? So I'm talking about events probably in the future. If we had more money, we could go on holiday more often. Notice here I'm using could, all right? But it refers to future. Now, is that going to happen? No, because they don't have any money. So once again, that's why it's important to understand that there are always imaginary situations. Now we have in this part, you can see with the use of to be. To be is always a special verb, exceptional, important, okay? It always stands alone. But we have in this case that when I use the verb to be, in spite that I use the personal pronouns I, she, he, or it, I'm not going to use was, but I'm going to use were. Normally you have any sentence, for example, I was at the doctor, she was calling me, he was asleep, you know, that's correct. But when I'm using the if clause, I'm going to change that was to were. So you have here, look at the pictures. If I were a T-Rex, I would eat poodles. Okay? By the way, I do like dogs. It's just a silly example. All right? So if I were a T-Rex, I would eat poodles. Notice that I'm using I. And even though I'm using I am using the verb to be in past because I always have to refer to past. When I use it in this way, it's just a bit more formal. Probably you have heard in any film that you have watched in English, if I was you, I get out of there, totally informal. It's acceptable in speaking, but in writing, I cannot use it. So we're going to learn here how to do things well. And now you must remember that every time I have the if clause, even though I refer to I, she, he, or it, I'm going to use were. All right, clear? Let's continue with the other one, the other slide. You have here now for questions, for conditional questions, things also change just a little bit. Not much. So you have here I'm going to change the place of the subject and the modal verb that I'm using. Look at the example you have here. If we had wings, we could fly. If the conditional form, I need the use of the subject, which is we. I have the past tense, which is had. And then the other part of the sentence, the subject is we, the modal verb is could, and the verb in infinitive is fly. Every time I use could, would, any infinitive, I cannot use a past form or anything like it. I have to use it in infinitive without the to. So what happens when it's a question? Look at the one below. If we had wings, could we fly? So what did I do? I just switched instead of putting in the other result clause subject, modal, and the infinitive form of the verb, I put first the modal, the subject, and I maintain the infinitive verb there. I repeat, if we had wings, could we fly? Very well. Another thing to remember here is with the use of the conditional forms, the punctuation I have to use. Very simple, you can see it here. If I have the if clause at the beginning, okay, before I write the result clause, I have to use a comma. If we had wings, comma, we could fly. Can you see it? Very well then. If you put the if, the good thing about this that I can switch the position, right? If I do not start with the if clause, but with the result clause, we could fly if we had wings. I do not use the comma in that case. So just remember, if the if is in the middle, no comma. If the is at the beginning, I have to use the comma. If I don't write the comma there, you're going to have a mistake. You're going to have less points, right? Okay. Now, let's understand the meaning. I have in this case different sentences, and you have to try and understand the meaning according to this first sentence. It says, if I had $15,000, I would buy a new car. So which of these sentences is the most appropriate according to the meaning that I'm expressing there? I wish I had more money to buy a new car, or I bought a new car and it cost me $15,000, or I will definitely buy a new car next month. So when I use this, if I had $15,000, I would buy a new car. What does it refer to? You have to choose one. So very well, if you wrote, I wish I had enough money to buy a new car. Because in the previous sentence you said, if I had $15,000, I would buy a new car. That means that it's a wish you have, like you want that, but it's not real. You don't have the money. You haven't completed it yet. Okay? All right. Another sentence, for example, is where you have to figure out the meaning as well. If she weren't so tired, she'd go to the party. This she'd is the contraction of would. She would go to the party. Okay? I can use the contraction, by the way. So you have here, she was tired of going to parties. She would go to the party even though she is tired. or she won't go to the party because she is tired. So which of these sentences has the same meaning as the first one? If she weren't so tired, she'd go to the party. Which one do you say? Very good. So she won't go to the party because she's tired. Okay, so it's the last one. Very well. She is very tired. So, oh no, not today. I won't go to the party. Okay, very good. And I have one last one about to try and get the meaning. If you get the meaning of these sentences, well, you have no problem, right? So the next one would be, he'd get to work on time if he had a car. Not if he wakes up early, but if he had a car. So which of these sentences refers to that? He didn't have a car, so he didn't get to work on time. He gets to work on time because he has a car. Or he doesn't have a car, so he doesn't get to work on time. Which of these sentences has the same meaning? He'd get to work on time if he had a car. So if you chose this one, he doesn't have a car, so he doesn't get to work on time. It is correct. So I have to understand the meaning when I have these if clauses, right? Very good. Congratulations. And now this is just an extra activity. You don't have to do anything. Just think about it when you're driving, when you're walking, when you're in the bus, any moment, okay? Try to write a chain of, let's say, events. I put an example here. If I drink coffee, I'll stay awake all night. If I stay awake all night, or tonight, I fall asleep in the morning. And if I fall asleep in the morning, my teacher will be angry. So, it's like you could start with the if and you continue speculating there, all right? This is the same like when you used to play maybe. I went to the market and I bought some onions. The other person would say, I went to the market and I bought some onions and some chicken, and then another person repeats what the other people said. Yeah, I imagine you played any moment of your childhood this game, so you can do the same with the if clause. So the invitation is to think of another chain poem or events using the if. So my dear students, that would be all for this part. I hope it can help you for your synchronous class, okay? So very well then, take care and see you in class then.